tried to feed a bus a carrot, and now you're telling me that country has computers?
The UFC prides itself on showcasing the best of MMA. All fighters look to make a good first impression, but some find the stage too much to handle. This is a list of performances so inept, the fighter was immediately shown the door, or came to the conclusion that mixed martial arts wasn't for them after all. Well, die and see, and these are 5 of the worst UFC debuts. Belgium's Cindy Dandois is known for 2 things: being the first woman from a nation to compete in the UFC, and putting in one of the worst striking performances ever seen in an octagon. A high school teacher by trade, Dandois made her MMA debut in 2009, amassing an 8-2 record, including wins over Marlis Kunin and Invicta featherweight champion Megan Anderson. After a 3-fight winning streak in Invicta, Dandois was signed to the UFC, where she took on former title challenger Alexis Davis at Fight Night 108. Despite her strong record, questions were raised on Dandois' ability in the stand-up, something which became very evident in the early stage of the fight.
Right away you could see Cindy Dandois very stiff in her striking.
For 15 minutes, Dandois flopped comically on her feet, offering little threat to Davis while getting little bit of attempts to take the match to the ground. While Dandois did score takedowns late on, Davis's jiu-jitsu background saw her lock in multiple submission attempts, eventually claiming the win by unanimous decision. Dandois' performance saw her become a social media punchline, leading her to be released by the UFC just 4 months after the fight. Since the announcement, Dandois has bounced back in style, winning fights in Cage Warriors and Rizin to sit on a record of 10 wins and 3 losses. Long before CM Punk set foot in an octagon, Shawn Gannon was the benchmark of UFC stunt casting gone wrong. Gannon first caught the public eye in 2004, when he beat Street Fighter Kimbo Slice in an internet video that quickly went viral. Despite poor technique and zero conditioning, Gannon was signed to the UFC, where he took on fellow newcomer Brandon Lee Hinkle at UFC 55. The fight went as many expected. Gannon was taken down immediately and offering no defense to Hinkle's ground and pound. After bludgeoning Gannon with fists and elbows, the fight was stopped at the end of the first, giving Hinkle a dominant win and forcing Gannon to hospital for the next 3 weeks. After complications with his job at the Boston Police Force, Gannon retired from MMA, serving as a lesson for the UFC in not booking fights based on viral popularity. For a while at least.
Here we go!
Mickey Gall shoots a double immediately and has CM Punk on his back.
It's rare to see a Gracie spoken about badly, but the debut of third-generation star Holles was not one for the family scrapbook. The nephew of UFC legend Royce, Gracie arrived in the UFC with much fanfare, claiming medals in judo and jiu-jitsu and winning his first 3 MMA fights by first round submission. Gracie made his long-awaited debut in February 2010, when he took on heavyweight fighter Joey Beltran at UFC 109. Gracie started the fight strongly, bringing the fight to the floor immediately and dominating the short-notice Beltran with superior groundwork. By the middle of the first, however, Gracie was visibly gassed, and after failing to execute a takedown, turtled up while Beltran pounded away until the referee waved off the bout. Gracie came for criticism after the fight, with older cousin Henzo describing his performance as embarrassing, and leading to his release from the UFC just a few weeks afterwards. For the next 4 years, Gracie embarked on a journeyman career, competing in 1 championship in the World Series of Fighting, where he spent most fights doing his best Ric Flair impression. Joe's son was a victim of one of MMA's most brutal beatdowns, but don't feel sorry for him. After appearing as a cornerman for Kimo Leopardo, Son made his MMA debut in 1994, when he took on Kenpo fighter Keith Hackney at UFC 4. Hackney had gained notoriety at UFC 3 when he beat 600-pound sumo Emmanuel Yarbrough, and many were keen to see what he could do against a much smaller Son. Son threatened early in the fight, locking in a guillotine choke and forcing Hackney to take extreme measures in a bid to escape the hold.
That is allowed in this competition. That is brutal.
The impact proved a turning point, as Hackney was able to lock in a choke and force the Korean to submit 3 minutes into the fight. After an 8-year layoff, Son resurfaced in Pride Fighting Championships, losing 3 fights in a row, including a match with Joe Moreira where he submitted in the first minute due to terror. In 2008, Son was arrested after a DNA sample linked him to a 1990 gang rape. where he was convicted on multiple sex charges, including felony torture. While serving his time, Shawn was also charged with the murder of cellmate Michael Thomas Graham, beating him to death after an altercation. Shawn currently resides in Salinas Valley State Prison and has been sentenced to life.
I'm a professional fighter.
What kind of fighter?
MMA. You can find me in Wikipedia, believe it or not.
Jesse Taylor's UFC debut proves just because you talk a big fight doesn't mean you can deliver. Taylor first entered the public eye competing on the 7th season of the UFC reality show The Ultimate Fighter, making his way to the final before a drunken rampage at the hotel saw him removed from the show.
What the are you gonna be like when you start making money and everybody wants your autograph and all the girls want to hang out with you? You're gonna be a lunatic.
After months of persuading UFC President Dana White, Taylor was granted a second chance with the UFC against CB Dollaway of Fight Night 14. Dollaway, however, wouldn't read the script, out-wrestling Taylor throughout before sending him back to the regional promotions with one of MMA's most unique submissions.
It looks like he's got it. He's tapping.
It's all over! Peruvian necktie, CB Dollaway!
That was his favorite move on the show. That's the move he got Rampage in, and he used it on JT Taylor.
In 2017, Taylor returned to The Ultimate Fighter to compete on the show's redemption season, once again reaching the final where he beat Diego Lima in the second round, setting the stage for a successful tenure at the sport's biggest stage.
God f***ing damn it!
And now time for a few honourable mentions. Taxi driver Thomas Ramirez took on Don Fry at UFC 8. It went as well as expected.
And Fry knocks down Ramirez, and that is it.
Matt Mitrion's knockout made Marcus Jones realise MMA wasn't for him. And James Toney? Yeah. This is the INC, and thank you for watching.